Hello everyone, my name is Chrissy and welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing you my Clear Your Shit Readathon TBR. I saw this readathon on Twitter, so I will link that down in the description below. I don't know if the two hosts have done their announcement videos yet, but if they have, then I will definitely link those as well. This readathon goes from November 1st to December 27th, and I just really like the concept because it's all about reading the books that you have, and I'm in need of that a lot. In fact, I've been on a type of book buying ban where I assign a money value to the books I read. So if it's a physical book I own, it's $1 that I save up so that I can buy books some more down the line. And with this readathon, if I read 15 books or more, then I'll double the amount I save, just so I can clear off my TBR. My physical TBR. Alright, I have the prompts here, so let's just get on started. The first prompt is read your shortest book. For that, I have Gun Up by Scott S. Phillips. This is actually a novella, and I believe it's, this book is already a series. It's a Boone Butters novella, but it is about this guy who he repairs like chicken coops and stuff. He's in the West, and I think it's a modern day novel. It doesn't really say what the era is, but I think it's modern day. But he does all these like odd jobs, but then he's hired to go track this guy down. So he and his friend go on an adventure to track someone down. And they end up in Albuquerque, Mexico, and apparently they just get into all sorts of funny business. Now, Scott S. Phillips is an independent author, and he's really, really funny, both in his works and in person. He's amazing. You guys should definitely go check out his work. The next book is read the book that's been on your shelf the longest. I actually have quite a few books in this TBR that have been on my shelves for a long time, and I did that on purpose. There are a few new books on here too, but the one I picked for this is Coochell's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. It's about this gal named Phaedra who ends up getting pricked by Coochell's dart, which makes her in line to be a courtesan, and so she's getting trained to be a courtesan, and it's about castle intrigue and all that other stuff. It's a high fantasy book, and I got this series, like the first 3 books in the series, close to when they first came out. I was on a very high fantasy kick back when I was in my early 20s, and I don't know why I never got to this. It's just a book I just never read. It could be that it's 900 pages and my life has been a series of like slow periods and then really busy, slow period then really busy, like everyone else's life. But yes, this is definitely getting read. This is one that's definitely getting read in November or December. The next prompt is read a book about a group of people, heist, found family, or otherwise. I picked The Glass God by Kate Griffin. This is the second book in the Magical Anonymous series. The first book, Sharon, who is a shaman, ends up getting together a bunch of magical creatures into this group called Magicals Anonymous, where they then talk about their problems being a magical creature or being a magical person, and all that goes in. I love it. It's hilarious, and one of my favorite characters is a banshee who has a dry erase board and marker, and that's how she writes, and it's just really fun. So I got this from a friend of mine, and I'm really happy to finally just sit down and read it. The next book is read a book with an animal in it. I picked Wolf Hunting by Jane Linskold. This is the 5th in the Firekeeper series. That's a high fantasy series. And so I'm not going to go fully into what this book is about. Just know that in this series, there's a gal named Firekeeper, and she can talk to these magical type of wolves, because there's 2 types of animals in this world. There's animals that are not magical, and there's animals that are magical. So that's all you need to know. Really good series. I want there to be a bigger fan base currently. Like, I know that it had quite the fan base when it first came out, but I got to the series late, so I need people to talk about this book with. So if you have read this book, please talk to me about it. Or read the series, please talk with me about it. The next prompt is read a book that's been intimidating you. And I picked Doomsday book by Connie Willis. Now, admittedly, I have far longer books than this one. This one's close to 600 pages. But it's not that the length is intimidating me. This book is about a time-traveling Kivrin who gets stuck in the 14th century, and she's doing research, by the way, like she's doing calculations and research during that century. And she gets stuck, and now she has to find her way back. And what's intimidating me about this book is that it is about time travel, and I'm afraid that I'm going to get lost and confused. Because I'm like that anyway. That's my natural state of being. But the next prompt is read a scary book. And for that, I picked Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I know that there's a lot of horror fans right now kind of rolling their eyes and side-eyeing me because there's far, I think, scarier, horror books out there. But this is about a guy named, well, it's actually about a girl named Victoria McQueen who ends up escaping this guy who kidnaps children. And then he's after her again. That's what I got from the summary. I just saw Joe Hill's works and thought that these might be good. This was even before I knew that he was Stephen King's son. So it looks good. I'm interested in reading it, and now I'm looking at all my books thinking how thick they are, with exception to that first one, which is my shortest book. Okay, so the next prompt is actually a mini boss surprise battle, so I have a feeling that'll be a prompt that comes up whenever the readathon's going on. Then the 8th prompt is free book space. I did not pick a singular book for that because all these will be free book spaces. So the next one I did get a book for is read a fantasy book. And for this one I got Magic Lost, Trouble Found by Lisa Sheeran. And this is about a sorceress named Rain who ends up being hunted down by, I think, goblin missionaries because her friend Quentin couldn't help himself and decided to steal an amulet. And granted, all of her friends and, family extended family are, thieves and smugglers. So this is, I have a feeling this is the normal situation for Rain. But she's being hunted down and she has to, escape. The next prompt is your most expensive book on your TBR. This is not the most expensive book I own, because I think that goes to Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but I've read that a lot. I've read that book a few times. So instead, I picked one of my most expensive recent purchases, which is Vengeful by Ve Schwab. This is $19, and for the longest time, I had been getting, mass market paperbacks, because these are about, $7 to $8 versus $19. This is expensive to me. But I bought it anyway because I wanted to read this. This is a sequel to Vicious by Ve Schwab. And my mom has been not pushing me to read this, but she's been wanting me to read this so that she can get to it herself. I did offer it to her, saying, you could read it before I do. And she's like, no, I can't. And so that's where we are. The next is Prettiest Book Cover. I picked Spirit Gate by Kate Elliott. I just really like these editions. Look at that. That just illustration looks very pretty. So this is another high fantasy book, but it features these two characters, May and Shai, who are on their way to try and find Shai's brother, or at least to figure out what happened to him. There's immortal beings, there's, kingdoms that will rise and fall in this book. So it's the high fantasy are some of the hardest to summarize quickly, but that's the summary I'm giving it. Prompt 12 is read a magical book, and for this I'm going to read the Scapegracers, which is the group book, because that's a side quest. So moving on from that. Number 13 is read a book that has blue or has water themes, and I decided to re-pick up Kraken by China Miéville. I read this book, or I started to read this book a few months ago, but during that time it was just a little bit awkward because I was going back to work and my son was sleeping in the same room as me and my partner, and now he's in his own room, and so I have a few hours before bedtime to be able to read and to do all the stuff that I love doing. So I'm picking this back up. This is about a giant squid that gets, I don't want to say kidnapped, but it goes missing. It's a giant squid in a museum that goes missing. And the first few pages I read were really good, so this is another one that I'm definitely going to be reading. Okay, next prompt is read a book with a character you think you'll want to fight. I picked The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, and anyone who has read The Poppy War knows why. I want to fight almost all the characters. And mainly I want to fight a certain nation that has been invading forces. So yeah. This is another one that's hard to summarize, but just know that there's a war going on, and Rin, who is the main character, is caught up in that war. And she has a lot of power, and she makes a lot of mistakes, and she wants to fight everyone too. Number 15 is read a book someone recommended for you or bought you. So I actually have 3 books in mind. Not that all 3 of these are all my TBR, but I don't plan on reading all 3 of these. I'm still trying to figure out which one I want to read. So the first book is Fighting Reuben Wolf, I believe is the title, by Marcus Zuzak. And this was recommended to me by Lucifer from Argyle Dinosaur. They said that they would do a buddy read with me, so I got to hit them up for when they want to do that buddy read. It's a short book, so I have a feeling that I'll get through it fairly quickly, and that might be the one that's on my TBR. But I also have A Song of Wraith and Ruin by Roseanne Brown, and Beach Read by, I think her name's Emily Henry. I'll have the book somewhere up here so that you can see the author name. So the next prompt is read a book you don't remember the prompt for. Now, I don't remember this having the prompt for at the end. I just remember this prompt used to be read a book you don't remember. So I actually picked Dreams of the Golden Age by Carey Vaughn because I did not remember that I had this book. This is the sequel to After the Golden Age, which is about pretty much superheroes and the daughter of a superhero. And this follows the granddaughter of a superhero and trying to, I guess, get superheroes back in action. I think that's what this is about. So the 17th prompt is second mini boss battle. So as said, I think we'll get to that when the readathon does happen. And then the 18th is free book or a break. So any of these. And then finally to read a book with a map in it. And I say finally, there's still a few more prompts to go. But read a book with a map in it. I picked The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. And this is about a thief in a high fantasy world. As said, high fantasy is the hardest to get down into like a one-sentence summary. But this does have a map in it. And that is the map. I've heard a lot of good things about The Lies of Loch Lamora, and so this is another one I've been trying to get to. I just haven't yet. I'll be interested to read it. I have a lot of thick books, though. We'll see how this goes. The next prompt is read your oldest book by publication date, and this is Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. This was published in 1965, and I do have classics that were originally published for earlier than this, but I decided on publication date for the physical book itself. So this is the copy from 1965, and in fact, it used to be $3.95. Now, like, a book this tiny is like $20. I'm just kidding. I got this because of C.S. Lewis, and I wanted to read his science fiction because I did read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and that is his fantasy series. So, the first in a series by C.S. Lewis. So the next prompt is read a pre-order or read a book that has a sequel coming out or read a library reservation. And for this, I picked Storm of Locust by Rebecca Roanhorse. There we go. And this is the second book in the Sixth World series. And I do know that there is a third book coming out. I don't know what it's called, but it's a great book. This is a type of post-apocalyptic world, and the main character is Danae, and she has these awesome hunting powers that can kick people's butts, and, trying to save the world, or at the very least, the Danae nation. So, the next prompt is read a book with a shiny cover or a magical object in it. And for this, I picked Indexing Reflections by Shannon Mcguire. I admit, I don't know if this has a magical object in it, but it has fairy tales in it, and that should have magical items, right? Like, if there's a fairy godmother, there's a wand somewhere. But this is about, oddly enough, like an investigative bureau that investigates fairy tales when they go wrong. So I just like Shannon Mcguire's works. That's why I picked this up. And I'm trying to read through her catalog of books. Okay, the last 2 prompts is free book choice, so not going to have a dedicated book for that. And then 24 is final boss battle, still a surprise. So that is my very long TBR for the Cut Your Shit Readathon. Or Cut Your Shit Readathon. Did I say Cut Your Shit Readathon at the beginning of this? Clear Your Shit Readathon. My goal is to at least read 15 of these books for November and December. And we'll see if that happens. I average about 5 books a month, 4 or 5 books a month. And to get to 15, I'd have to average about 7.5. And I know I could get through my 2 short books really quickly. But then I have, like, these chunky monkeys. Why did I do this to myself? I don't even know. If you are reading any of these books, or if you have read any of these books, or if you want to buddy read any of these books, please comment down below. Or if you just want to, chit-chat, then let's talk it out. As always and forever, thank you so much for watching and giving me a little bit of your time today, and also giving me some views. And may you get lost in the book.